All right, so for the last class, we finished drawing plans and sections, and I did two basic drawings, and then I showed you how to orient them. So if you haven't yet oriented your drawings, you can go back to the previous video, so you can figure that out. Today, what we're going to do is extrude the line work that we already have, that we created, and if you have them in the correct orientation, you should be able to use the two extrusions to start either carving out your geometry or start adding to the geometry. So, and I'm going to show you a few ways that I can do that with this one building so that I can try to cover all the bases with the buildings that you guys are working on. Okay. So I just mirrored this over to the other side. So I'm going to show you just a quick commands and we'll do it, just to do a little recap. I'm going to trim some of the lines. So in order to do that, I type the trim command. I select a line that I'm going to use to cut, enter, and then I select the line segments that I want to get rid of. You can also, and I believe I did this last week, you can explode lines, you can also join them. What would be the command for me to fill this in?
Fill it.
Yeah, so I do fill it. The radius is set to 60, which if I were to do that now, I'd get a curve like that. It's not what I want. So I do fill it. I change the radius. I can click here or type R. 0. I should have done that before I mirrored it, but not a big deal. Okay. So for this, for the basis of me, let's actually, I'm going to pretend like I have different layers. I want to generate a profile of the drawings that I have, or the lines that I have, but I don't have a continuous segment. And a lot of you probably should have that if you have windows and you actually change layers when you have a window. So what I'm going to show you is how to generate one line for the entire profile. And it's called using the command curve boolean. So if I wanted to get a profile of this entire building right now, I would have to go and I have to basically redraw this. And I hate redrawing things. So I'm going to use the line work that I already have, and I'm going to use curve boolean. So I'll type in curve, there's boolean. I'm gonna have it not delete any of the existing lines, but I will have it combine the regions. So if I don't combine, whenever there's a line that splits between two spaces, it'll actually it'll it'll set it like it's two different objects. And so I'll do an example. I'll set combine no. I'm gonna go ahead and do the command, and I'll click. So I clicked inside. Everything within those lines got selected, and you can see it shaded. Right? I can click on this floor plate, and then I can click again on this space. All right, I just selected 3. When I hit enter, just to show you guys what it did, I have 3 spaces now, or 3 objects. You see that? Okay. If I were to do this again, curve boolean, select everything, enter, and I set this combine yes, I'll select those same 3 spaces, enter, and I move it out of the way, combine them. That's all it is. It's a curve boolean. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the exterior profile. And I really don't have to do this for this drawing. But some of you might have more complicated drawings. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. And all I would do is I'd come in and I'd click. Again, if it's this is one way of doing it. So it looks like I got it. All right, so I got the profile of the building without drawing any lines. Let's see. There's another cheat way you can do it, which is just do curve boolean, make a box. Because I didn't finish this drawing, it's not closed. I didn't do it. I'm gonna finish this drawing real quick for the base. So I'm gonna get rid of the plan drawing here, and I can tell that my C plane is off. Okay. I'm basically just trying to close this off.
Nice one.
So I'm gonna try that command again. Curve boolean. Yeah, so I was able to pull the profile again by just creating a box on the outside.
I like
So I'm trying to use the line work that we already have. Some of us might be able to use that in plan, but not in section. Some of us might be able to do it in section, but not in plan. So, but this is just going to be. I'm going to show you different ways to generate 3D objects. Okay. Okay. I'm going to pretend like that's the end of my building there. If you guys have to extrude some, let's say you're building. I'm going to use the curve boolean to get the geometry in there. I'm going to control and deselect the frame. And now that this is closed, which I know it's closed because I just did a curve boolean, what I can do now is go to my perspective. I can type extrude curve, make sure that my solid is on. And now I have the profile of my building from that section. Okay. I'm gonna show you a different way that I could do this. And I'm gonna ignore my floor plan for now. I'm gonna make a box that is exactly the size. I'm gonna make a box that's exactly the size of this section, or the profile of the section, even though this is not necessary. Okay, so let's say I have a box. So some of you, Chris, you have morphosis. So I had mentioned just extruding a really simple surface, a straight surface. You can use a geometry that you have on the outside to carve out of your object. So I'll show you how I would do that. I'm in my construction layer, and what I'll do is I'll use the outside lines that I already have. I showed you how you can generate this, but I'm gonna do this as many ways as possible. With the time given. Okay. Okay, so I just redrew the outer profile, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve out from this box. And how I'll do that is I'll extrude the line work through it. And if you're just going to use this to delete, it doesn't matter that it's the same length. And just how I can extrude a line or I can trim line work, I can trim a surface. So what I'll do is I'll type in trim, select the cutting objects, enter. I'm going to select the portion of the 3D object that I don't want, and it deletes it. So I can delete this, I can hide it, whatever it is, or I can use it. So where scale 1D would be useful here if I wanted to use it. Since it's an extrusion, I don't know if that would work. So does that make sense? Is that helpful for anybody? Okay. Now it's important to understand what your building looks like actually looks like. That's not the proper way to model the building that I'm doing, because these things repeat. I basically just make one box, rotate it, and then start stacking them. So I'll show you in case you have a situation like that. So I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna type in move and then vertical. So I can move this and keep it aligned to the plan. So I can move the section and keep it aligned to the plan. Okay, so I'm gonna extrude first. This portion here. So I'm gonna grab this, the end of that floor plate, and align it to my plan. It's so weird. I'm unaligned. Like that. There you go. So I had the layer locked, so it didn't come with it. Move, vertical. So I'm going to extrude these faces. And what I've done is I've aligned this plan to this line, the floor plate. So I know if I extrude up to this line, see from top, I'll go from top to top. Now I have a box that matches the height of that space. I can do that again by extruding. Actually, I can move this up if I want to the next floor plate. So I'll do it to the top there. Extrude again to the next floor plate. Oh, look at that, I didn't finish my square. Cool. So this is actually a little bit more accurate to what's going on with the building. And since I know that this happens a few times, I can just copy this And what I'll do is I'll do vertical, copy vertical, V enter, and I go from the bottom of this point to the top of that point. It's gonna stack them. And I could continue doing that, but it only happens twice. So now I have my 4 floors. And it looks like it happens, this diagonal happens one more time. So copy vertical. I'm gonna go from this point, the bottom of this square to the bottom of this square. Now I have it. So as you can see, I don't have to completely 100% match the section to the plan. I can use them as reference. It might be helpful for you guys to actually move things into, depending on what building you have, to move it into the exact space that it's being cut from, so that you have a more accurate model of the building. Okay. And for this bottom, the base, my line work is way up here for that. I'm gonna move it down, move vertical. Vertical. I can move it all the way down to the bottom. Type extrude all the way to, I can do it to the bottom of the lowest box that I did. And so now I have a 3D of all the major elements of the building. Let's see if I can pause this video. I'm going to show you guys a quick example of how to do this. This is going to, the command for this is going to be called project. Okay, let's say that's the profile of your building. I don't know, I didn't do this to scale, so I'm just going to do it proportionate. And you want to draw out what you're going to carve, right? So what you can do is you can use an elevation. And so this might be helpful for everybody else, even though I'm doing it on curves. Like, again, I know the Cooper building pretty good, so the Cooper building, you can carve out the notch on the outside. And this is a similar way that you can do that. So if I have the elevation from the floor plan, so that's accurate, what I can do is, let's change that, I'll lock it. It's going to be important here to just know, again, you're not going to be able to draw on the surface.
Right.
Yeah. So even though it might come out 3-dimensional, I showed you guys how to project to C-plane. Remember that, to flatten out the lines? So I might have to do that here. Let's just assume that whatever I draw is accurate.
And you just do like polyline.
Yeah, so I just want the polyline. And I drew a curve. Let's say that that's in my elevation, that's the profile of the window. Do you have elevations on here?
Nope. We don't.
I think, can you see the windows to the section?
Yeah, it's not as helpful.
Nope.
An elevation is going to be a lot more helpful for this.
Yeah, we don't have.
I mean, I was the picture, but can I just do
Can we take it from the picture as the elevation, even though
I'm
it's
sure
not
there's an
accurate?
elevation on Google, but I just wanted to know how to do the cut.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you guys can look it up. Look at the building, try to find an elevation.
Yeah.
So you would align the elevation relative to the floor plan, right? And so I'll just show you guys this real quick. I can project this line work onto that surface. So the line work right now is off the surface of the building. It doesn't matter where I do this from. What matters is the view that I'm projecting from. So I'm going to go to my front view, which is where I drew this. And I'll do project. Not to C-plane, because that's projecting to a construction plane. What I want to project is to a surface. So I'll do project. It's going to ask me to select the curves that I want to project. These here. Hit enter. Select the surface that I want to project to. I locked it. Okay, here. Press enter. And so now when I go to my perspective, it's been projected onto the surface. You see that? Maybe I should change the color.
I have a question though.
When I did it,
Yeah.
it's like in the building, not on the building.
So you projected it into the building.
Yeah, but it didn't cut anything out.
I'll have a look at it. I have it recorded here.
Okay.
What's up?
What if we can't find the elevation? I have been looking for it, but there's only the sections.
Okay, if you can't find the elevation, then
We do it from the picture.
yeah, do it from the photos.
Okay.
But there should be elevation somewhere. It would be helpful. It would save you time.
I know.
Yeah, so maybe putting a little more time
Into finding them.
into I don't know where you would have to go. But a lot of times other students are modeling it, or someone else is modeling it, and they post their own drawings or own elevations of it. Okay, any more quick questions for their building? Just in terms, because right now what we're trying to do is develop the outer profile, right? And then put some of the openings on there. And you can make the openings using the line work that you already created from your existing drawings. Yeah? Cool? Okay. So I'm gonna go then one by one and just make sure everyone is good. I have about 20 minutes, and there's 20 of you, so that's about a minute per. So if you're not, if there's no fire right now, ask me maybe after class. If it's something that you think will be helpful for the rest of the class, I'd love to answer that. And next class, what I'm going to plan on doing is having a drawing that we can export, since you guys already should have plans and sections done. Show you how to export that and make a drawing, so that by next week, Monday, you all have a PDF of your plans. I'd actually like a PDF of a plan and a section. Just one plan and one section that look really good. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I have the line work. So I just showed you how to do the line work onto your surface. This is a curved surface, right? And the line work follows the curve. What I can do from here is I can actually open this up by typing trim. I can use, again, I'd select the cutting objects, enter. I can trim inside that surface and open that up. The other thing that I can do, because this can be used as glass. What I can do is just type split. So select objects to split. This is the opposite direction of clicking. So I don't click the line first, I click the surface. Enter. What do I want to use to split that line? Enter. And now I can change this. I can change that to glass. Something happened there. Yeah, does that make sense, everybody? Is that helpful?
Split and then select cutting objects. What is that?
It's your lines.
That's the line.
So, real quick, because I think this might be happening. When you're going into a command, you'll get used to it after a while, but if you go into a command and already have an object selected, it's going to assume that the first question it would ask is the answer to that is the object that you have selected. So if your first question, Nikki, your first question was select splitting objects, it means that you already had something else selected.
Okay.
Because it should have asked a different question, I think. So it's objects to split first. So it's asking me that, right? And I don't have anything selected. If I go in here and I select this and I click this, now it's asking me a different question, which is select the cutting objects. Because it's assuming that what I have selected is what I want to split. Or what I want to use to split, sorry. Does that make sense? So that's what, when you're in a command, it can be other commands. Sometimes if you already have something selected, it's going to assume that that's the answer to the first question. Okay, anything else? No? Okay, so for Wednesday, everybody should have a general model, or at least mass, of their building. And then we can look at more details about how to get maybe some mullions, some thickness, and then some interiors. If you want, it's going to be the same thing, by the way, and I'll just finish this up doing this. If I go to my top view, and let's say there's an elevator in there. I just lost it, but it's in there. Let's just assume that that's either a stair core or an elevator or something that continues. That's at the ground level, which is where I want it. I can extrude that. So this is what you're going to do to your interior walls. I can extrude this over to the very top. And now now I'm starting to get interior details. But some of you don't have a straight top like that, so you can't do that. So if you were to extrude it and it went past it, it's the same thing as we did before. Trim, enter, select cutting objects. Sorry, I do this without thinking. Trim, select cutting objects, which is my building. Enter, select objects to trim. There, got rid of it. I can do the opposite. Let's say that this was a top, this is like a little chimney or something. I can do the opposite. Select cutting objects, enter, and I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna get rid of that, and now I have just the top. Yeah, hopefully this is all gonna get you guys going with the 3D. Does everybody feel now that they can start generating a 3D model? Does anybody feel like they can't? Huh? I want to see them like nice and high. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna make sure then that, are you guys sharing buildings? Do you know? Does everybody know? Everybody knows who's building, who's doing what building. I sent a list. So you guys should know who's doing your building as well, and maybe you guys can help each other out. Keep
We're
friendly.
in the same boat.
Okay, you're in the same boat, then I'm gonna have to help you guys out.
Yeah.
Okay.